Well, hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday or Tuesday. It's windy, it's chilly, except for people probably in the Carbondale area. I know you guys like to rub it in a little bit that it's always warmer down there in the southern part of the state, but that's okay. I'll take it. Welcome, everybody. I'm Anna. I'm from ICPN. I'm the training coordinator. I know a lot of you have seen me before. If you haven't, welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm just going to go through a couple of housekeeping items for you guys. I know most of you are pros, but just in case we do have some new people on, when you get on, your cameras are disabled and you are muted. So don't panic if you can't find the button to turn anything off or mute. You guys are automatically muted and your cameras are off. So don't worry about that at all. The main way that we will communicate with you guys is through the chat box. So if you see at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A box, and then there's also a chat box. If you click on the chat box, you'll see that people are already starting to say hi to everyone and communicate through there. If you have any questions, comments, want to share a resource, just say hi, tell me a good joke, anything you want, go ahead and put that right there in that chat box. We'll go through this throughout the training and make sure your guys' questions are answered. If you have any questions about CEs or anything like that, or any recommendations for future trainings, you can go ahead and put that in there. If you go towards the bottom of the chat box, you see there's a little drop down button. If you click on that, you need to make sure that the everyone is selected. Otherwise, it'll just come to myself and Jenna. We want to make sure you guys can communicate with everybody who's on the Zoom. So go ahead and just go there right now, go to the chat box and then select that little drop down and make sure it says everyone in there. If you do send me a box to the Q&A, I'll also respond to you and that will go directly just to you. So it's easier to do it in the chat box. Some other questions we get, if you guys want to receive notifications for our upcoming trainings that we have, if you go to our website, which is icpn.org, you can see there's a professional development tab. If you click on that, you'll see all the upcoming as well as the previous trainings listed on there. So you can register to receive notifications, and you can also choose which training you would like to attend and register for that event. They're always free of charge and we provide CEs. So just make sure that you check the CEs that are provided to see if your profession is covered for that training. We also have in the past section, the past workshop, we've been posting all of our recorded trainings. So we actually already have this one posted from our previous time. So this one from today probably won't get posted, but if you guys had to jump off earlier, if you have a coworker or you have an upcoming staff training or something like that, and you wanted to share our videos, you can go ahead and go there and just play it for everyone in your meeting or your staffing, whatever you would like. Just know that if you do watch it and it's not live, then you're not going to receive continuing education for it, but you guys are welcome to use those for resources anytime you would like. The other thing is continuing education. Please give us 14 business days to get those out. As of today, we are 100% caught up. So if you have not received your continuing education from any previous training you've attended, I'll put my contact information in there. Go ahead and shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll just make sure you are on the attendance list and get you your CE. So as far as attendance for today, as long as you guys registered and you're using your Zoom link that is connected to your registration, then we have your name in here as registered and it will automatically prompt us to get you a continuing education. So you don't have to do anything as far as your attendance. As long as you're on here and used your link, you are set to go. At the end of the survey, or sometimes it's kind of funky and it will pop up the next day, you should get a survey. It's just real short. There's just a couple of questions. If you could answer that, that would be great. We love your feedback. And we also like to know what upcoming trainings you guys would like to hear. We're working on a mindfulness one right now and a couple other ones in the works. But if there's any topics, clinical models, anything as far as like management, leadership, anything like that that we can do for you guys, go ahead and put that in the last question, ask for suggestions, and we'll do our hardest to get that to you guys. We've also been repeating our trainings 2, 3, sometimes 4 times. It's the same training repeated, but because of the staffing crisis and just life in general and all that other stuff going on, we're trying to provide you guys with it numerous times in case you can't attend during that time. So just note that if you attend the same training in that year, you're not going to get continuing education for all of those. You have to keep track of that yourself. So if you attend the last Therapeutic Environments, the same exact one, and you're in the same fiscal year, you can't submit the same CEs again for the same training. So just try to keep that in mind as well. The closed captioning is on. We had requested that we turn that on. So it's in the live transcript. If you don't see it on your screen, down at the bottom, there's a live transcript with a little box with the CC in there. If you click on that, you can enable it so you can see it, or you can keep it hidden if it's distracting. But if it's something you would like to see for the words, then that is on for you guys. Let me check my list. Other than that,
with the, it could be the 3 dots with the more too, because mine has, instead of the bottom, it's now at the top. And I have to hit the 3 dots with more to turn that on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. And if you have any questions too, put that in the chat box and I can try to help you as well. Try to find it. I think that's it, Jenna. We're ready for you.
Okey-dokey. All right. Well, today, which I think you all know, we're going to go over building therapeutic environments. This is only the second time that I've given this after creating it. So this was one of the ones that people wanted to see based on, you know, those reports there at the end that pop up. So if you have any feedback, it is very much welcomed. This can be ever evolving, and so should environments. So with that being started, we'll go ahead, and I got to remember how to make my slides change. There we go. So what is a therapeutic environment? Well, a therapeutic environment is an environment that's supportive of all the individuals that live there and even their families and the staff that work there as well. So it includes our physical spaces, our social spaces, and psychological spaces. And when we talk about a therapeutic environment, and you'll see this throughout the entire presentation, safety is going to be one of the biggest priorities, or a thread that goes through everything. So safety is always going to be something that's first and foremost whenever we talk about those environments, because our basic needs need to be met, and then safety on top of that to ensure that people are safe, comfortable, and being able to learn and just live their best life. So therapeutic environments also recognize that people with disabilities or disability diagnosis are influenced by their surroundings and do way better with environments that are individualized, flexible, and designed to support differing functioning levels and approaches to care. So we have to maintain a positive and healthy physical environment because it's important, because the people there rely on that for cues to help them in, you know, physical spaces or cognitively or even emotionally. Because unfamiliar, chaotic, and disorganized environments are really stressful. It can cause unneeded anxiety, it can cause disorientation, and it can contribute to behavioral problems. So one of the most common things that I see is the environment is one of the parts of why people are having problem behavior. So when we talk about that, we want to reduce those environmental stressors in any way we can, and that could be giving positive distraction, enabling support, you know, and giving them a sense of control back so they have a more therapeutic environment, which leads us right to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you're not familiar with this, it's like one of the most common things that we use throughout all of my schooling, and it could be a little bit outdated, things could need updated, but when we are talking about a therapeutic environment, obviously we need our basic ones. We need psychological or physiological needs met. So that's our air, our water, our food. Do we have a roof over our heads? Are we getting a proper amount of sleep? Do we have clothing? All of those things. And if you don't have those, you're going to have more behaviors. The person is going to be struggling. So obviously we need that. But then on top of that, we have to have safety needs, because if they don't feel safe, then you're not going to go any further. They're not going to be able to do anything more to actually be better or be productive. So they need personal security. Certain people need employment or a way to get money. Do they have resources? Is it a resource rich area, or is it a resource scarce area? How is their health? Are they getting the proper nutrition and all of that they need? And then do they own property? Do they have a place to live? The same kind of things. And sometimes that safety need, whenever we see people being discharged or having 30-day discharge, that definitely plays into this. So who gets helped by therapeutic environments? Well, therapeutic environments actually help everybody. So you'll see improvements with clients, staff, the admin, even above, like say DSPs and Qs. It will help the community surrounding you. You will have better resources or better relationships with those resources around you, such as the police or EMTs or the hospitals. And I think that's something that's really a big focus right now, because there's so many resources that are being tapped out or just can't take any more people. So having good relationships with those people or those resources are really important. It will also help the agency as a whole if your environments are therapeutic and they're conducive to people living there. So we also want to think about the culture that we are putting out there and what that looks like, because if we have a therapeutic environment and it's a really positive place, the culture and the surrounding, like word of mouth is going to be better. People will want to work for you because it's a good agency. They know that you take care of your staff and the clients that you serve. Hopefully staff turnover would be less because you're hearing those things. They feel treated well, and they just are more enabled to work harder or work for that agency. People will also want to live there. I know that right now, because of the staffing crisis, word of mouth is such a big thing. People will ask like, oh, okay, are they struggling with that right now? Or what's the reputation going on? So if it's good, that's awesome. Your reputation gets out there. But if it's bad, it's bad. And people will know that because word of mouth is out there. So with that too, like I said, the community will want you there. I know there's been a large issue throughout the years with certain communities not wanting group homes in their area. I have a client who for a while, the HOA was threatening to get the house shut down because they were having issues with the clients who lived in that house and they just didn't want them there. So being able to have the therapeutic environment enables everyone to have better behavior or be more on track, so we aren't seeing as much of these issues. Obviously, we want to just make things more desirable for everyone. So when we talk about the people who we work for and we work with, we are talking about people who have intellectual disabilities. And I want you to realize what we are capable of doing that maybe they aren't. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is put in the chat, what are some things that you get to do on your days off, your weekends, that are just fun and fulfilling for you? And it can be anything. I'll give you a little bit. Yoga, going out to eat, horseback riding, yeah. Reading, traveling, sports, coloring, more reading, visiting with family, walking the dog, driving, just resting, having friends over to hang out at my home, keep whatever schedule that I want, to go wherever I want, when I want, seeing family out of town, going to the movies. I see that a few times. Again, driving, family. So I'm seeing some threads of driving, going out with family, keeping your own schedule, hiking, spending time with family and friends, going for runs, out to eat, football, playing with my dog, crafts. So there's tons that I'm seeing in here. So everything that we've listed, what I want you to mark out or just think in your head, how many of those things are our clients actually able to do without permission, help, having prior arrangements, getting someone's approval for them to do those things, go those places, see those people, or even get there. Like they don't have transportation. There's a small amount of people who have disabilities that have driver's license. So out of all of those things, even sleeping in, how many of them can we actually do? Or can our clients actually do? Not many, right? So they're super restricted in, say, what a normal or typical person would get to do, at least without help. So we have the ability to control our environment, and actually having the ability to control or directly control our environment is more successful to patient outcomes or client outcomes. You have happier, healthier people in the community or that you're serving. So with that in mind, we have to consider how things are actually set up. So is the space set up to feel welcoming? Do the staff actually listen? Do they care? Or are they just there for a job and they're going to hustle and do that whenever they've got to get it done? Do the clients who live there feel that they can do whatever they want in their own home without restrictions? So like I said, not being able to drive, maybe they don't have the capacity or the knowledge or know-how to set up for a bus to come get them or a car to come get them. They don't know how to do those things, or they have money limitations, so they can't. These all limit everything that they get to do, therefore affects the environment and the behavior that they're doing. So if they feel very stuck in that environment, how can we ever have a therapeutic environment? Because the person is not going to be happy. We could also have a lack of the skills in their repertoire. They may just not know how to do these things. Not that they can't ever do them. They just need help or future skill set up to be independent. So we have to teach them. We have to work on these things. They will always need, or at that time, need another person to help them. We have to help them feel that control. So we give them a sense of freedom and control. Something that I always ask whenever I do certain trainings, especially like power struggles training with agencies, is did they even pick to live there? Did they choose the environment that they got to live in? Did they want to have a roommate? Most of the time, they did not have any control over that, let alone if it was an emergency situation. And they may never be happy with that individual house that they're in because of those things. Also, we need to think about, did they pick the DT? Is it work that they want to do? Is it work that they're good at? Because so many of the individuals in my service area are in certain locations, there may only be one option for DT. And what happens if that person doesn't like that DT, or they have behaviors and they get kicked out? Like, those things are really important to think about when we are building therapeutic environments and giving those choices. Also, again, safety. Are they comfortable there? Do they feel safe? Are they settled? Is there a lack of anxiety? Because without that safety piece, no one is ever going to actually feel supported in the environment that they're in. They're constantly living with the bear. They don't feel safe. There are 3 components of therapeutic spaces or environments that I will talk about and we'll go throughout this presentation. So we have physical spaces, psychological spaces, and social spaces, but all 3 of those things have to be there and being productive and on track for it to actually be a therapeutic environment. If you have one of them, that is wonderful, but you have to have all 3 to truly be a therapeutic environment. Otherwise, you're going to have unhappy or just disgruntled employees and residents. A lot of this will be subjective. So I will give you an overarcher, but I am fully aware that some environments have certain limitations and it's not something that they can change, or there are rules in place. So you are going to alter this based on the population that you serve or the varying levels, etc. So we have to think about, again, how do we give control back? Because maintaining an environment that recognizes people are influenced by their surroundings and do better with environments that are individualized, flexible, and designed to support those differing function levels and approaches to care is the best way to have the best outcomes. So we really also need to think about, when we're giving control, what are some ways for us to gauge or pull the people that we serve in order to do a better job of having a therapeutic environment? So we could do resident councils, we could do idea boxes, we could have open meetings with polls of, is this something you want to do? Or what about this? Can you think of ones that we can't do or that we've never been able to, but it's on your bucket list? We also have to know history and if these people have similar interests or similar backgrounds, and you can pull from those items because sometimes our clients aren't going to be able to just say out of thin air, this is what I like, this is what motivates me, this is what I want to do. So knowing history, knowing where they grew up and some of those things, you can pull from it. The other things we want to do is have immediate environments that they interact with daily. They have choice in that. So what theme do you want your room in? Can we paint your walls a certain color? What is your ideal temperature? We may not be able to completely control that, but we can ask them, are you hot? Are you cold? What do we need to feel better? What activities should we schedule? Like I said, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? What's something you don't want to participate in? Or what are you looking for? What are some items that we can have on hand? That could be food, that could be fidgets, that could be just things that you and I just have in our house, or we can pick up on a whim, but they can't. We also want to talk about like, what does the lighting in our houses look like? Can we add more? Should we add lamps? Is the fluorescent too much? Because some of the places that I work in, the that word is apparently really hard for me to say. Fluorescent lights, I can't stand them. They hurt my head. I end up with a migraine. But there are ways around those things. If I'm feeling like that, I'm sure other clients or staff are as well. What kind of artwork should we hang? Do we have an art class that some of our clients make amazing art and we can hang those on the wall to showcase just how amazing, our clients are. We just want to give ownership. So again, what can we do in public spaces or common area spaces to make it feel more like home? And then specifically one that I saw pretty commonly was, what's the menu selection and what can we fit in based on dietary restrictions, etc. Someone said they found it very helpful to ask what's different from their family homes and what they'd like to incorporate into a group home. And that is amazing. That it helps build a therapeutic environment for sure. So again, those three components, we have social environments, which is the interaction with the client. So like our actions, our body language. This includes, what peers are around us. So who else lives in that home, what goes on in the house, what kind of activities, and then how staff act and treat everyone, like what's just the general vibe. And then are they free of abuse and neglect or unwanted touch or any of those things. You also have a psychological environment. So these are those interactions, the words we say, and somewhat our tone. Are we safe? Are we communicating respect? Are we focusing or asking them if they're struggling with mental health issues or things that we can label that maybe they can't? Are they free to express and be themselves? And that is something that in places I have worked in the past was not easy or common. Some of the environments around or like group home come from religious bases, and sometimes to live there, like they want you to be religious as well, or maybe it's the opposite. So I am fully aware that people who have disabilities can also be, in other communities, such as the LGBTQ+. So those are things that, are they free to actually be themselves? Is it something that their guardian isn't a fan of either? So like being able to assess that situation as well. And then the physical environment, like the actual setup, the look, the feel, etc. So social environments, physical closeness, that space, the boundaries that are in a home or other environment. So with that, the interactions. So like, are you seeking out people that you serve to say hello when you arrive? Yes, it's first shift. And yes, maybe it's the morning or it's second shift and people aren't home, but are you actually greeting them? Or are you just jumping right into your job? Like it's a job, not that you're actually serving human beings. Are you saying good night or goodbye when you go to leave at the end of your shift? Or are you just getting out of there as fast as you possibly can? Do we praise them? Do we let them know that we're proud of us? Are we really talking up the amazing things that they do? Are we even talking about the things that they like or that they're interested in? Are we using please and thank you and really using that culture of gratitude? And then say we have somebody who needs that assistance. Are we actually letting them know of when we're going to do that? Are we preparing them for touch or that, hey, it's time for a shower, or this is what's going to happen? Sometimes we just get into the habit of doing our job and we forget to say each and every time, okay, now it's time to scrub your body, or maybe I need to use the faucet on your hair. But just really describing what you're doing, even if you don't think the person cares. So the other parts of this too is with those interactions and things that we're doing in the home to do our job. Do we knock on doors, even if the doors are open or the people, you have a job to do or you need them to come out for medications? Are you knocking and actually giving them some level of privacy? I have so many clients right now that I've had to give door hangers or a little sign to put on the door of please knock, because it's not a common occurrence. They just walk in, they just do their thing. I have another client right now that they clean his room when he's gone, and he's really, really protective of his stuff. And he knows the minute you've removed things, but staff think that he won't because they deem the things they're removing as trash, but he doesn't. So really paying attention to things like that. So what can we do to set them up for success? Such as the activities being offered, ensuring that everyone has at least some interest being addressed within all of this, asking them to teach you something that they're good at or they're interested in. So often we choose the activities. We want to do a Halloween craft, or we want to talk about Thanksgiving, or we center things about the holidays around. What if you have a client who isn't, like the mainstream celebrating the holidays? What if you have someone who's Jewish, but you don't know a lot about their holidays or anything about that? Like, ask them to teach you those things and actually incorporate it, because it's just as important as anybody else's. And then sometimes it can just be as simple as giving one-to-one time. We are human. We have attention needs. We have belonging needs. So making sure we're taking the time, even if it's just like 5 minutes, to let them know, hey, we're here. Please come to me if you have something. Also, just proximity wise, do we stand too close? Do we whisper? If it's a sensitive subject, are we pulling them into another room, or are we just trying to get it done then and there? And sometimes it's out in the public and the person may not be comfortable saying those things out loud. With this too, we want to pay attention to inclusion and what we are wearing. So don't come in with gaudy jewelry all over the place, or things that clients will never be able to afford. Or if you have a client who's like, oh my gosh, I would really love that. We have to be comfortable, but we want to present kindness. We don't want to be too flashy. With that too, colognes and perfumes are something that we need to also examine. I'm not saying don't wear them, but I'm also just saying be cognizant of who will be around and how that may affect them. I have people that I know who have severe allergies or react really strangely to just smells or things like perfume. And I know if I spray them, or I have too much on, or even if I just put it on and then I see that person, like, it could cause asthma attacks. So just being aware of what we are doing to better the environment. With this too, we really, really, really have to be cognizant of a person's trauma. So do they have traumatic history? Do they have any kind of trauma history? That's a question I always ask whenever we get a new client, is what's their trauma history? What does that look like? Is there something I need to be aware of? We need to ask about abuse and neglect. It could be physical, emotional, sexual. We need to know about those things, because the way that I approach someone is going to be completely different. Was there personal or familial drug use or alcohol use? Do they have untreated mental illness? Did a family member? What was their prenatal care? If we know, were they in any kind of domestic violence or saw their parents go through it? Have they experienced a really significant death or loss currently? Even if we don't deem that something super serious, they might. It may be a really big deal to them. So something that I always talk about whenever I talk about trauma is the ACEs score. And the ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. It is a score. So it literally is a questionnaire. You read through it, and for every one you have, there's, I think, 10 or 12. I have it right in front of me. Hold on. So there's 10. So you can have an ACE score up to 10. And the higher ACE score that you have is usually correlated and connected to worse health outcomes, right? So knowing someone's ACE score is actually really important. I do this for myself, and just are fully aware that my trauma or my ACE score can color the lens that I see other people in. Yes, someone said that they would add history of major medical procedures to possible traumatic history. Absolutely. Any kind of procedure that they were expecting, or was a huge life thing that was immediate, they didn't have much to it, or that's just a huge undertaking for many of our clients, is very stressful and it could be a trauma. So thank you for saying that. So back to the ACEs, I'm going to go through it just so you guys are familiar with what's in it. So question number 1, and these are all things that are prior to the age of 18. So while you were growing up, did a parent or another adult in the household often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? If you answer yes, that's 1 ACE score. Did a parent or another adult in the household often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? Or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or you were injured? If you had answered yes, you would add another point. Number 3, did an adult or a person at least 5 years older than you ever touch or fondle you, or have you touch their body in a sexual way? Or attempt or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal sex with you? Number 4, did you often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special? Or your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? And I think that's a really big one in this community. And sometimes our clients won't actually say that out loud, and we may have to infer some of this knowledge. Number 5, did you often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, and had no one to protect you? Or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or to take you to the doctor if you needed it? Were your parents ever separated or divorced? Number 7, were any of your parents or adult caregivers often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at them? Or sometimes or often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard? Or ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes or threatened with a gun or knife? Number 8, did you live with anyone who who was a problem drinker or alcoholic, or who used street drugs? Number 9, was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide? And then number 10, did anyone in the household go to prison? So those are things that the ACEs asks, and you can have a score up to 10. If you would like to do an ACE questionnaire, you can literally just Google ACE questionnaire or adverse childhood experiences. There is instructions with several on how to score it, but for every single one that you put, it's just a point. Often that you'll find that goes along with it is a resiliency or a protective factors. So even if you have a high ACE score, it does not mean you're doomed, but it's something to pay attention to. And also with that, when we are considering trauma, we have to consider how that trauma may come out whenever we are working with a person. So I've had clients who have extensive trauma histories, and then I've had people be like, well, they didn't really care, or I don't think it affects them, or it wasn't that bad. I don't care if you think it's not that bad. Trauma is trauma. And if it is significant to a person, it matters. So knowing them and asking them is really important and is going to go a long way of building rapport, in turn, making a therapeutic environment. So just really pay attention to that and think about the ways it can come out. Sexual abuse is another one that people don't disclose, especially men. So I have a client currently, no, past client, that he wouldn't shower and they just were really mad at him and they thought he was defiant and he just wouldn't do it because he wouldn't do it. And, you know, he had an extensive trauma history of sexual abuse that he didn't disclose very often to anyone, but he didn't shower because it was a shared bathroom with men and there was no lock. And he didn't feel comfortable because his abuser was a male. So once we realized that, approached him differently and gave him the opportunity to shower somewhere with a locked door, he showers now. So just really paying attention to where some of these things can go and working with the person to provide that therapeutic environment. So how do we approach people? Well, we obviously want to know their trauma. We need to build a great relationship and rapport with them. We are going to announce our presence, even if that means knocking and not touching before they know that you are there. This is just kind of goes for everything or everyone. I'm a very jumpy person. If you approach me or like touch me on the shoulder and I'm not paying attention, I'm gonna probably freak out. And my fight response is very large. So I might also even, you know, like be scared and lash out, not trying to hurt you, but that's something we have to pay attention to. So also saying hello, please, thank you, etc. We are setting ourselves up for success and checking that personal stuff at the door because we are part of that environment. And if we are black clouds, if we are negative, you better expect the same from the people that we serve or are around. So we also can't expect them to do the exact same, right? We always want to ask them to say please and thank you, use manners, but most of the time it's not personal and we do not want to make threats or demands. We can educate, but we aren't going to force them to do the same. So with the 5-1 rule, so this really just means that make sure you have at least 5 positive interactions with the person for every negative. So there are times that you're going to have negative experiences or there's going to be a behavior and you've had to place demands or intervene in some level. But in order to build yourself back up and not have resentment, you have to have at least 5 positive interactions. Okay, so psychological environments, again, do our clients feel safe? Do they feel supported? Are they struggling with any kind of mental health issue, even if it's not recognized, such as mania or depression or both? Are they cycling and they don't know it and they can't express that? Are you going, if you notice that, connect them to resources? Are we educating staff of what that look like or what our warning signs are and how we can support in a manic phase or in a depressive phase? We are part of that environment, right? So we set ourselves up for every interaction. If you have unhappy staff where you're working, you're going to have unhappy clients, because if you are faced with somebody who clearly doesn't want to be there or doesn't treat you like you're human, they're going to feel that. They are going to know. So what you say has to communicate respect and dignity. They are a person. They deserve your respect. They also deserve your validation and letting them know that what they think and what they feel is valid, even if we don't agree with it. Yeah, someone said that they have worked with plenty of DSPs that only come to work for work and they go home. I agree. And, it is a job, but we literally only have jobs because we serve these people. They are our bosses, whether we want to realize it or not. And if you're resentful towards them, they're going to be resentful towards you. Okay, so paying attention to our vocal qualities and our body language and what those things convey. So tone and volume is really, really big. And we have to be aware of what ours communicate. And I'm very cognizant of this one. I have a little bit of a cold right now, so it's not as bad. But I have a fast rate of speech. I am higher pitched. And sometimes I tend to talk too loud without recognizing it. I am aware of those things each and every time that I work with clients or I'm going into an interaction with someone that I am serving, because I know this voice and this rate of speed can be very off-putting, but I don't want to continue to do those things. So I change it. I slow it down. I back it up. I get quiet. Facial expressions are very huge as well. I think masks right now are helpful to an extent. For facial expressions. If you're a person like me who every little bit of what you're feeling is on your face, masks are great things. However, I'm also aware that I show everything on my face. So whenever I'm working with clients, I practice, and I know this seems silly, but I practice in the mirror. I need a poker face. I'm going to work on that poker face, right? So just really being aware of those. Again, rate of speech, and then just communicating respect through every bit of communication, validating, even if you don't agree, because clients know how to push our buttons. And if it's worked once, or they find one little thing that works, they're going to keep doing it, especially if it is fueling behavior or reinforcing the behavior, right? If you have an attention seeker and you're giving attention, even in the form of eye rolling, it counts. It's enough to keep that going. So obviously using neutral or positive facial expressions when you're seeing people interacting, because we've just got to put out those vibes. So as much as we can, we've got to create a culture of, I'm happy to be here. I like what I do, even when it's tough, because I think we could all probably name somewhere that we've walked into and I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it's not right. We've got to realize when the environment we're in is like that, or we are playing a part in that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about validation. And validation is something that I am a huge proponent of. Like, literally, I will find any little thing I can to validate you. But validation is the act of confirming what another person finds to be accurate, logical, and authentic. You are not communicating that you accept what they're saying, but you are communicating acceptance of what they're thinking, right? So no matter what, even in the middle of behavior, even in like the most shitty thing a person could possibly say to you, you can find something to validate. So let them know that the behavior does make sense under whatever circumstances are happening. We don't have to agree. Like I said, it is not an agreement. It's just confirming that it's valid. And then knowing a person's history in similar situations can also explain why he or she is having this reaction, especially if it's like over and over and over. Validation also is just not compliments. It's not like, oh, good point, right? It is not just those positive statements. It's not just cheerleading. It is when we can find some level of being able to feel with them and validate, yeah, that makes sense to me. I understand why you would feel that way, even if we don't agree. There should never be any situation that you're in, especially with our clients, that they know that you're like, I don't like that. I don't like this person. I don't like what's going on, because you should have rapport with them and be communicating respect and validating, even if you don't agree. There are some people that I just don't care for, right? That's okay. We're all human. It's gonna be that way in some situations, but I can bet that those people wouldn't know that I dislike them or that what they just said annoys me, right? Because I'm still going to communicate some level of validation. And again, if we're not validating, we're invalidating, and invalidation comes through words or actions, but it's not really like what's said, but it's how they're said. So how do we invalidate, or what does that look like? Invalidating environments are continual communication to an individual that his or her responses are incorrect, inaccurate, faulty, or inappropriate, or otherwise invalid. And invalidating environments produce an increase in emotional displace and or communication efforts due to inconsistent reactions. And it can actually make a person sick or feel sick because they're feeling invalidated, they're feeling unheard. So instead of talking it out or mentioning things, they've been shut down time and time again to the point that they'll no longer share that. They would rather feel sick. They also may stop asking or requesting. Maybe they'll go to the other extreme and start demanding because the other ways haven't worked or you have invalidated them enough times. So we have to give them the ways to talk to us in a calm manner, but also validate when they get upset. So always remember that people can't help how they feel. Even if you didn't intend to make a person feel unheard, upset, or the way you said something versus the way they took it wasn't the intended message, it doesn't matter because it still made them feel that type of way and they get to feel that way. So invalidating environments make people feel that they're wrong for feeling a certain way, even though they can't help it most of the time. And then communication of private events. So like those thoughts, physiological responses, etc. They'll stop sharing those things with you or they'll hide them to a point they're getting sick. So stress can cause a person's immune system to be suppressed and put a damper on resources that then would impede healing and recovery, make you physically ill. And I think we can all say right now, we don't want our clients feeling any more stress or ourselves feeling stressed because stress, we don't need unwanted stress on the body. So invalidating environments, the main thing or the main takeaway with this is you will see more behaviors. You will see people who are fighting back. The other ways that we invalidate people is through blaming, hovering, judging, denying, minimizing, and then those nonverbal, such as rolling eyes or drumming your fingers or not paying attention. So with the denying, this is really hard and it becomes really invalidating for people who like to tell some white lies or create stories. Obviously, for some clients, we know that's going to be the case, but you telling them, I don't believe you, or that didn't happen, is actually so invalidating that they will get to a point they'll stop telling you, or when something really bad happens that they should actually tell you, they don't tell you, right? And then it could continue abuse to happen. It could make things even riskier. So obviously we want to stop invalidating people. Okay, so now I have a quick little video and bear with me while I get this up because I forgot to do it beforehand. You know, COVID brain. See if I can get it to go. All right, I'm gonna play it. Tell me if you can not only see it, but hear it. If not, I'm gonna try a different way. Can't see it, okay. I'm gonna figure this out. So I'm gonna share. You share this sound. Okay, let's try it this way.
I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most. it's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's gonna stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just.
Don't.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on?
No, I can't pause it. So that just shows how easy it is to be invalidating, because she just wanted heard, but instead the person that was talking to her just wanted to fix. Fixing is another form of invalidation. And I think so many of us in this field are fixers. It's part of what brought us to this field. So it's a good part of us. But sometimes all we need to do is listen and validate, yeah, those things suck. And if you don't know how to validate a person, or you can't come up with something in the moment, you can literally repeat back what the person said. It's as easy as that. So let me see. I'm trying to look back. There we go. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint now, or do I need to stop sharing and get back? Stop sharing. Cool. Thank you guys. Like I said, you're really bearing with me on this one. I don't know why it's so difficult today. Probably because I forgot to pull these things up. Okay, so I have a couple of videos on validation and better ways to validate. The first one I want to show you is actually by Brene Brown, and it's more on empathy. But empathy versus sympathy and adding in validation is something that I think we need a little bit of a refresher on occasionally. So let me see if I can get that pulled up too. Again, I apologize. I should have pulled all of these up beforehand.
Ever get the feeling you're
So again, bear with me. I'll get it, I promise.
being watched? Well, maybe you are.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, It's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, "I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me." Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So like she said, connection is what makes things better. And in my eyes, I feel like a level of empathy is validation. You're meeting people where they're at in order to validate. Pull something from your knowledge, your know-how, to help another person or to make them feel heard. At least the nail doesn't have a picture hanging on it. Yes, that at least would not be a very nice one to say. Okay, so now I have one that's literally just called validation. And it's a long one, so we're just gonna watch a little bit of it, but it kind of gives you an idea or like an extreme idea of something that is beneficial when it comes to validation.
I'm here to get validated.
You are awesome.
Excuse me?
You have an amazing face. You've got powerful features, man. Anyone ever tell you that?
No.
And listen, you look a little down. And it may seem like sometimes people don't understand you. But someday, man, someday, people are gonna see you for what you really are.
You really think so?
Absolutely. You are great.
Need a validation, please?
You are great, ma'am. You have amazing cheekbones.
Really?
Sir, yes. We have a situation. Where?
Oh my gosh. 6 months ago.
What the hell's going on?
Yes, that is so sweet.
You've been through it. You know. You've had so much life experience that other people don't appreciate, but you know.
Bless you, dear.
They're not patronizing the shops. They're just coming to see him.
Oh, sir. You're in great shape. You work out?
Not for long.
I do, actually, a bit.
Yeah, thanks.
Young man, we are running a business here, not a social club.
That is a fantastic suit. It really flatters you.
You think so?
You guys work so hard. You are the backbone.
So as you can see, sometimes just a nice little compliment, some validation goes a really long way, because sometimes you don't know how long it's been since a person has heard something nice or that goes that far. I was joking with some of the people in the office a little bit ago about TikTok. So if you don't know about TikTok or you're like, oh, no thanks, there's actually some TikToks right now or accounts of like aggressive validation or aggressive comments. And they're literally just trying to brighten some people's day. And that's, you know, they drive around and they don't really scream at them, but they yell out like, hey, you look amazing. And it could be something that small or that just changes a whole person's day or attitude. So even if you think it's small, go ahead and do it. Compliment a person's outfit, tell them you like their shirt, whatever it is. I think it can go really, really far away. And I do encourage you to go ahead and watch the rest of that validation video. It's hilarious and it's just fun to watch. So if you've got time, watch it. So now that we've kind of talked about validation and what that can look like, and then invalidation and what that means, you know, we have to give power and control back in the middle of hard conversations or if we've invalidated a person, because the ability to control or have some level of control or choice over the environment or everything that's going on will directly contribute to being more successful or having more successful outcomes. So the control can extend from privacy to something small like, hey, do you want a dimmer switch on your light? Or what about if we hang your artwork on the fridge or on the walls? Being able to just make small decisions. But obviously we want to avoid those power struggles. So that could be by offering choices, not demands, sidestepping arguments, or just setting up physical spaces to make them feel like they're home or it is their home and they have more choice. We approach them as discussed with knowing their trauma and pleases and thank yous and knocking when needed, because what they are seeing or hearing or being taught in the environment is really important. And if they're being taught they don't have choice or it doesn't matter what they think, you're going to have more power struggles. You're going to have more issues. So we also want to stay away from that, at least that silver lining, just really being vulnerable with a person, even if you don't know what to say back, but letting them know it's okay to struggle. We can use these struggles to learn and build upon, and just let them know it's safe to speak whatever truth there is that is their truth, whether it's about their personality, their sexuality, whatever it is, they should feel safe to be who they are. Okay, so relationships. If you can't tell, I'm really big on relationships. And sometimes I will come back and be like, am I just a rocket scientist? Or did like no one think to just ask the person, right? So rapport is always going to be a priority. We want to build the best relationship possible with everybody that we serve, because the better relationship that we have, the more effective we are at providing support, having them come to us with problems, maybe when they're small before they get to big ones, and just having good times and supporting in the bad times. Because in all honesty, you are probably one of the only people that you see, like they see. You are there and the constant more than anyone else. You may be all they have. Let's think about people who don't have families or they spend holidays at the group homes. You are what they've got. So build that relationship with them and build it so well that they come to you with things and let you know what's going on, and that it's just so therapeutic and a give and a take, right? We want to take the time to talk to them and let them know it's okay to trust me, especially when they've had a learning history that it's not okay to trust the staff, or staff are the people who have wronged them. So when we have a better relationship, it will actually help us validate really difficult statements or things that they say during a behavior that's really hard not to take personal under other circumstances, such as I hate your cooking, or if you don't give me that, I'm gonna hit you, or day program is for losers, or this house sucks. Anything really difficult to hear. If we have a better relationship, it's easier to validate and it's easier to take those really hard things that they say. So with this, staff is a huge part of the environment, right? It is a key and essential piece to what we're doing. And since they're part of the environment, well, we got to talk about, like, do we have proper staffing? And is sometimes validating or asking them to do literally the bare minimum more than they can handle because they're actually doing the job of 4 or 5 people. And I don't think that's okay, but I think we also need to examine those things in order to have a better environment for everyone. And if we have staff turnover or we're retraining or building all of these things more and more and more and more, obviously it's putting a strain on everyone, and you're going to have staff turnover. We're going to need to retrain staff or hire more staff or fire or just put more money into things that we might not have had to if our focus on the environment had changed. We also want to know the client and adjust to their routines. And whenever I say that, I mean, we allow them to have some level of choice in that, right? So many of you said that on the weekend, you get to choose what you want to do when you want to do it. You can sleep in. Our clients don't often get to do that because we have a job to do and there's certain things we've got to do in the right order and keep that, right? Routines and schedules are important, but being able to have choice in it is really important too. So one of the biggest indicators of safety is consistent or inconsistent staffing. So again, remember, I talked about safety is one of the biggest things in a therapeutic environment. So if we don't have the proper staffing, we can't truly make sure our clients are safe. And then, you know, things that we can do in order to retain staff could be as simple as offering competitive rates, maybe having retention bonus instead of sign-on bonus, or both. I don't really know. That's not my role here. So we just really want to find ways to keep people who should be in this field and to lessen that burnout, because sometimes you're going to get some people who are passionate, that love this field, and then you run them ragged until they literally need to leave the field because they've got nothing left. So just be cognizant of staff are your main piece of a therapeutic environment, or people who have to enact so much of what we're talking about. So whenever we talk about physical environments, so this is literally, what does it look like? So studies have shown that people start forming opinions literally as they're driving to the place they're driving. So things that may be outside of your control, but they're judging it as they're getting to the building. They're judging it before they are in that parking lot, all of that. And I don't know about you guys, but I have anxiety. So whenever I'm going somewhere new, I check out the parking situation. And if I'm not going to be able to park or I have to parallel park, I already dislike it. That's all there is to it, because parking is such a big thing, because when you're going somewhere new or even to a doctor's office or introducing yourself into new social situations, safety, being comfortable are huge aspects. So with that being said, they again describe the environment as one of acceptance, empathetic understanding, and unconditional positive regard, in which persons feel safe or feel free to verbalize and consider thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, and make constructive changes in attitudes and reactions. So no environment is neutral. Like I said, people are making judgments before they even get there. So it's not neutral. You're either positive or you are negative. Choose it wisely. What do you want to put out to the world? So what should things look like? How do we build or set up a physical environment that is conducive to people liking what's around? So we realize that as soon as a person comes to in parking lots, lobbies, through the front door or anywhere, it's impacting how they feel and how they are going to perceive that experience later on. So obviously we want to make homes homier and workshops desirable. And this could just be like anywhere in general. But you know, we want to put our best foot forward. We want to ensure there's not cluttered spaces, or things don't look really sterile, or, you know, like just make it feel like it's welcoming, because you would be surprised how many places that we go that I walk in and I'm like, oh, buddy, nobody wants us here. So we obviously want to maintain a positive and healthy physical environment, because maintaining one is important, because people with disabilities rely on their environment to support them physically, cognitively, and emotionally. Unfamiliar, chaotic, or disorganized environments are stressful and can cause anxiety, disorientation, or cause behavioral problems or contribute to. So some of the indoor changes that we want to think about, like inside homes, inside offices, inside DTs, they have like indoor changes or small things have been shown to reduce those unwanted behaviors and enhance a sense of well-being. So just keep that in mind. So some of the things when we're keeping that in mind or considerations for is, where is it located? Is there parking? Is it easy to get into? When you pull up to it, is it warm and inviting? Is it a dark back room? Are the bedrooms not real homey? Is there some level of access to daylight? And I ask that because some homes just aren't conducive to having natural light, and natural light has just been shown to really have a positive effect on people's mood. Is it accessible? What does it look like? Is there a smell, or is it a good smell? What's the noise level? Can you hear people screaming as you're pulling up? Are there areas for privacy? Because you're going to have sensitive conversations. We have plan meetings, we have discussions or team meetings about problem behavior. Can you have some level of privacy? Is it supportive? Are there any kinds of repetition that help build skill or retain skill? Do you have consistent expectations? Because we have to reduce environmental stressors, give those positive distractions, and enable support to give them control over some level of their lives. So the physical spaces, what should that look like? What's it built like? These are things that they have found to be common throughout different settings. Again, like I said, subjectivity. Things are going to be different based on who you're serving and who's living there. So wide hallways. Do we have larger rooms, or are we cramming people into a small group home that maybe they had a larger space beforehand? What do the paint colors look like? Are they actually relaxing colors? I don't know, this has been a really long time, but there have been studies that have shown paint color is a huge component onto attitudes and affect, as well as emotion, because I think it was like professional athletes in their locker rooms, they would paint the locker room walls a certain color, especially the away side, in order to invoke like certain emotions. So just be really cognizant that those things do matter. Decoration, what's the artwork and the aesthetics look like? Is it calming, or is it really busy and a ton of stuff to where like you're just like looking all over the place all the time? Are there opportunities for natural settings or pictures for that calming effect? Are there access to calming areas such as views of nature? Are there gardens? Are there calm rooms? Is there real music? And those are all things that have been studied and have shown to have a calming effect and better for people's mental health. So the setup. What should it look like? Well, there's a lot of indoor designs that specifically have helped dementia patients. Yeah, bedrooms are so important. It's the one space that they have to themselves and to call their own. Yes, so letting them have some level of choice is really important. And asking that person, like, is their ideal environment having a roommate or is it not? I know some of those things aren't doable, but we can always work with the person to reach that as a goal. So again, these indoor changes have been shown to reduce problem behavior, specifically in dementia, but helps with DD as well. So having private spaces with private bathrooms. So many of our folks have had some form of abuse in the past, specifically sexual, and having a private bathroom can eliminate some of the issues focused around ADL tasks. Many places and different seating. So just having different opportunities that you can lounge around your house and it can actually be your own house. Personalization of all items, all possessions, they get to choose. You're not going out to the store and just buying whatever to fill the need, right? They should have choice over that. Even if they can't go to the store themselves, you should look on it online and you should get to pick. And then televisions, access to computers, tablets, phones. These are more common now, but in the past they didn't used to be. So some clients may have their own, but they should also have access to some of these things if they want it. It should just be an option. Cleanliness of all rooms, no smelly odors. I think this goes without saying that the room should be cleaned, and there are some level of clients refusing to allow people in, or they don't want to clean, but that's why we build a therapeutic environment, and we have a really good rapport that at least somebody can get in there, help them, and we can maintain some level of cleanliness. Is there sunlight? Is there well ventilated areas? Are we removing all dark nooks and crannies? And that is specific to dementia or aging folks because they get confused, and some dark spaces are just really scary. But also if you're having dark spaces or there's a lot of closets or things like that, that is just opening up for things to happen. People will take opportunities if they have them. So just be cognizant of that. Are there smaller centralized staff areas? So instead of the staff area being like the largest part of the house and they take that up and it's staff area only, like, is it a smaller area and the rest of the house is the individual's house? Are there specific areas that queue for specific activities? Do we have broke up spaces, or have you set it up like this is the craft corner? And I know some of these things aren't doable, but just think about like an actual natural home setting and what that would look like and how to incorporate. These are just some pictures that show some of those changes that are warm and inviting, that have flexible seating, etc. So the physical spaces, that seating component. We want movable furniture. We want pillows. We want them to be soft and cushy. And I know there's some level of this that you buy certain things to go in group homes because they're easier to clean, or, you know, they're built to last, right? But we have to be aware that some of those aren't the most comfortable, or maybe there is just not the right choice, or they're ugly. Like, those are just things to think about. And if possible, having clients pick, or being able to express like, hey, maybe I want a bean bag. That's a flexible seating, or maybe they help you pick out certain throw pillows. Just being able to have those options. And then obviously lots of choices and textures. Types of that will endure long periods. Then ease of sitting. We want to make sure there's a space accommodation. So many times I walk into group homes that are larger ones or have, you know, like 8 people living there, right? And in their living room, there's not even enough space for everyone to sit there, even if they wanted to. So those are things we have to think about too, and being able to have a lot of options and accommodations, even for varying levels of disability. Physical space. We want to use natural lighting as much as possible. Are we putting lamps in case like the overhead lights are too much, or a person just likes a little bit of a dimmer setting, especially like if we're having trouble with people sleeping, lights are still causing that, keeping people up, or just giving that light that can't help you settle. Do we have covers for harsh light? There are a lot of really cool things out there that I have recommended to DTs specifically that cover those really industrial lights that are like space or just certain colors that have that calming effect. Again, knowing the person of what light covers are going to cover what area for what person may really help. different light bulbs, like do we want soft light bulbs like the soft white, or are we doing daylight? There's a lot of options, more than you would actually think, but finding ones that are more conducive to those people, allowing soft coloring for common spaces, but them getting to choose their colors, decor, and everything that goes in their personal bedrooms. Dim or soft, obviously, if you can't go with natural. Yeah, someone said people should have real mattresses, box springs. Absolutely. Finding the things that a person is conducive to them. I know many of the homes have, like beds and mattresses already there, but some of those beds and mattresses, like if you wouldn't sleep on it, why are we asking them to, right? Like I love a real soft, squishy bed. So like that's what mine is, but I got to make that choice and it works for me. Other people need mattresses that are harder or firmer, so it doesn't hurt their back, but allowing that choice and finding the right needs is really important. So physical spaces such as smell, texture, and temperatures. So smells often can trigger memory or physical responsive. Olfactory is actually one of the biggest ones when it comes to trauma and being things or having things triggered. Even if they necessarily don't remember things, you may have a physical response. So just being aware that certain smells can affect people and trying not to do things overpowering. I know some people love, like Glade plugins or certain Febrezes, and that's wonderful. But again, paying attention to what works for clients, or if they have asthma or other health concerns, especially with like Lysol. We want to stay away from like that sterile or medical smell as much as possible. Obviously, you're going to have to clean sometimes with those certain chemicals or chemicals that have an overpowering smell, but being aware of when we're doing that. Incorporating soft textures in pillows, cushions, blankets, and just like finding areas that can be more of a break room that can offer these things or have those things as options. And then temperature, the ideal temperature for homes is, they did a study on this, is 68 to 72. So just being aware that some are going to like it colder, some are going to like it warmer, but finding that level and having items for cooling opportunities or warming up opportunities should be available as well. Okay, let's talk about outdoors. So the outdoors and like the actual physical environment of being outdoors is really important because it helps people in regulation. So the more time we can spend outside, the better it is for health outcomes. So a place that creates safe, purposeful, and accessible outdoor areas, there should be landscaping or gardens or views of the outside, picture windows if at all possible. Just having more of a natural community setting or like being able to see a community that's conducive to these things. You could even like think about having plants inside that they can help water or just like incorporating these things. The other thing that we have found to be beneficial is circulation routes or looping pathways or fenced in backyards. This can really help with elopers or individuals who have dementia, and they are known to actually build these things into specific like Alzheimer's and dementia homes so that it reduces that risk of eloping or getting out or trying to unlock doors. These are examples of some of those things. Like this is actually a walking path that loops around, so they can walk as long as they want, but they're not going to get anywhere that's unsafe to you guys. So supportive structure, routine, and repetition, as well as consistent expectations. Daily life is organized around routines and the convenience of staff, right? So we want to be more cognizant of setting things up that are good for the individuals we serve or meet their needs or incorporate their choice. So we know schedules can drastically change day to day. And if we're thrown out of routine, if our clients are thrown out of routine, it can mean really large bad things for us. So having a consistent routine or allowing them to build the routine, even if it's daily and you have like set things at certain times and they fill the other time with whatever they want, is going to help give them an idea of what to expect, but also build in breaks. And then something that I want to discuss is obviously if one person in one home has expectations, such as we don't give hugs in the home or we don't enter other people's rooms, if it's okay for one person, it has to be okay for everyone. And if there's unfortunately one person who can't handle that type of restriction or they need that restriction, then it needs to go for everyone. So you're not communicating inconsistent boundaries. So these are all something that's really key to be successful for our setups. We as staff are also the model. So we want to set them up for success and put that out there for them. We show and act how we want other people to act, and we have to continue to practice the skill and show them the skill as the model. And yeah, just consistency, having the consistency across every day, across every staff, and doing things the same way or having consistent response will help with problem behavior, but it will also build a more therapeutic environment because people know what to expect and they won't have to push boundaries as often. Another thing that we talk about, or that I talk about a lot, is animals. So many of you talked about owning a pet, walking a dog. We know animals are really healthy for us and it brings a lot of comfort and joy. So when possible, pets or other activities or elements that allow pets to be involved will help their well-being. So if you can, obviously you can work that in. I've had some clients who have owned pets in the past and they did amazing with that, but full well knowing that this is a limitation that isn't as easy as the other ones. Okay, so when we're thinking about therapeutic environments, we've got to think about the cultures of the agency that we are working in or that we serve, etc. So let's think to ourselves, what can be improved? What are we conveying to other people? What is the word of mouth we're hearing from the community? What about a complaint box? And this could be for staff and clients, right? You could poll the clients, you could poll the staff. You could even send this like an evaluation out to families. And yes, they're going to be very specific to their individuals, but maybe you can see consistent ones across the board and know that that's what you need to work on. Just because we've always done it a certain way doesn't mean it's perfect, doesn't mean that should be the way that we are doing things. In fact, you'll know, like that seasoned veteran, you'll hear like, this is how we're supposed to do it, but we do it this way, right? Some of those things are okay, but others, just because we do it that way, doesn't mean it's the right thing, doesn't mean it's the healthy thing, doesn't mean it's the thing that should be being done. So just be really aware of what the culture of your agency is, what are the things people complain about, what are the things that people praise, and then build upon that. So why do we want to build a therapeutic environment, right? Like this seems like a lot of work, or maybe we're already doing some of these things. Well, in theory, it increases their ability to feel both physically and emotionally safe. You are showing them it's okay to be who you are. It encourages growth and it helps in taking responsibility for the individuals and the staff. It's a positive environment, and if it's a positive environment, you are going to have less problems from staff or behaviorally or turnover, right? So the more that people love the environment they work in, that they live in, you're going to have less turnover. You're going to have less people being like, nope, I'm moving out, this is awful, right? You're going to have happier people that work for you, that are served. And then obviously we want to reduce those environmental stressors, because building it means we are being better supportive, or supporting them better than what we were in the past. So obviously we're going to give people choice whenever possible. We are going to know our clients, know their trauma, and approach accordingly. We're going to approach in a way that's not intimidating. We are going to say please and thank you. We're going to say hello and goodbye when our shifts are over. These people are human. We should treat them as such. And if you would tell your parents or your siblings or your children goodbye whenever you're leaving for the day or going to work, you should tell them that too, because you are just as much part of their family as your family is. And I know that conveys a weird message sometimes because it's like, no, we're not your family, but they see you the most out of anyone. We're going to be able to properly train our staff, and we want to stay on top of that training, even offering trainings quarterly or monthly based on new hires, or if we're seeing things happen that could be prevented or we have a training on. Because in the long run, this sets up the environment for success, and you're going to be in a better place. You're going to have happier, healthier individuals, staff, and in the long run, it's going to mean less problems for you, and hopefully spending less money to replace staff that don't like it there, or it's just not a great environment. Okay, so that is the presentation. If you have questions or comments, or just something specific that I didn't cover that you want to know if I know anything about, feel free to drop them in the box. Oh no, I saw that somebody said a client killed their house parakeet. Yeah, we got to be really aware of if that's something that's gonna happen. So the slides to share with our team, you should have gotten an email before this presentation that had the slides in them. If you didn't, I believe Anna has them, so you can email her and ask for them. Okay, I'm just seeing a lot of praise. Thank you. That is building up my little anxious heart right now. Okay, Lois, I see that you're raising your hand, and I'm not sure how to do anything with that. If you have a question or comment, just drop it in the box, and I promise you I'm looking through them. I am not sure if this particular one will be repeated, but I can tell you that it is recorded. It is on the website. So you can direct any colleagues to that one. Like Anna said, you won't get CEUs for them, but at least you can look at it and watch it. Do other areas have special staff to go through drawers, closets, roommates? I have a housekeeper. Okay. So do other areas have special staff to go through drawers, closets, rooms, etc., to make sure things are clean and tidy and working? I have a housekeeper, but she has 3-story building to clean. The DSPs are taking care of day-to-day needs. Honestly, I don't think that I've seen that before, where you have special people going through those items. Like I said, there's a level of cleanliness that most agencies have to keep in compliance with. So if there's like specific things, maybe you want to like build that into the room care, or like weekly, that's what we do in conjunction with staff or the clients in charge of it. I think the only reason we would have like more extreme things like that is if a person is like stealing food or has a known like hiding things and they rot or it's going bad. Okay, so another person has an individual in their group home is very protective of the living room as their space. We've done things like provide a TV in his room to make the living room to be more welcoming of others, but they insist on using the living room. Honestly, I think trying to give them ownership over their own space is the best thing. And it looks like you've done that. I don't know that this person's functioning level, if they have other like needs or boundary issues. There's the circles curriculum that really talks about boundaries and how to share and what that looks like and what color circle spaces those things are that could be beneficial. But without knowing that person specifically, or, like what all it entails, I can't give you like a specific thing. Okay. Yeah, someone says they wish I had 10 extra hands just because looking through the rooms. I agree. Thank you for all the kind words, guys. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, this is just the second time I've given this. So if you have feedback, please, please, please. Someone said staff are assigned to each person's room. They go through their rooms together, talk to them as they assist them cleaning their areas and reassurance that this is your room, but we have to keep it clean. Yeah, there are some staff who are not going to be on board with building a therapeutic environment. If that is the case, I think you kind of have to talk about if they're the black cloud and maybe offer retraining and find a way for them to have buy-in and realize that if we build a therapeutic environment, it's actually going to go a whole heck of a lot better for them, because chances are they're the person who is having the most behaviors with people. Okay, someone has an individual who saves feces in dresser drawers, is a roommate, so staff have to go through the room. I would be interested in that person's trauma history, because that is something that's pretty common in individuals who have trauma history, specifically sexual, or so I would just investigate trauma history and maybe even build in like social stories or something to, work on that. Someone asked if they could have the slides. If you did not get the slides in the email, shoot Anna an email or me. I can drop this in the chat and I will be able to send them to you guys. Okay. Well, like I said, Anna says she's going to resend the slides with CEs just so everyone is aware. If you have any specifics of like a therapeutic environment or issues that you're having because of therapeutic environments and you don't already have SST teams involved, you can reach out to me. That is my email. I can help or assist if possible. However, I would encourage you to, like maybe have an IDT, talk to all the people and parties that are part of this individual's team and try to like do a brainstorming activity with the information that I've given you guys. But if there's something specific that you're just out of ideas and you've already done that, sure, reach out to me. I will do my best to help. And if I've got an answer, I'll give you an answer. Okay. Well, I think I'm not seeing any more questions. So there's actually already a recording from the first time I gave this presentation up on our website. So it should be there. If it's not, I'm going to refer you back to Anna. Okay, well, with that being said, guys, like I said, reach out to me if you need something. And I've really enjoyed this. I wish it could be in person. This is not my ideal way of giving presentations. I really like seeing people's faces. So someone said it's not on the webpage of my original recording. I'm sure they'll be working on that. I have no idea. I am just here to give the presentation. Anna says she'll get it up there as soon as possible.
I'm trying to hide because look at the sunlight coming in on my face and I can't see.
Yeah, you are nice in the sunlight.
We'll get it up if it's not up there already. I saw the title was on the page. If the link isn't on there, we'll make sure it gets up here this week or next. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jenna, and have a good week, everybody.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.